Yeah, so a big storm had blown through, and it was pretty bad. I slept through the storm. I think I heard some of it while I was asleep. Like, part of me knew what was going on, but I was seeing it now. My house was fine, my yard too, a couple trees down, but I got lucky. I had this 80s Civic though, and nothing had fallen on it or anything like that, but on the back, on the hitch, there were these golden truck nuts. And they weren't just slotted into the hitch, they were welded on there. And I didn't put them there, and they weren't there before the storm. And I tried knocking them off with a sledge, but each time I hit it, there was this weird vibration that shot up my arms and made everything feel funny. I met my buddies down at the Peasy Loaf for a drink, and it seemed like the whole town was down there. They were in bad shape too. Like, there were a couple of folks who had lost everything, and I felt really awkward bringing it up, but I told the guys about the truck nuts, and they said I should be more sensitive on account of people were hurting and all that, but they did say that Joey would maybe be good to talk to. AutoZone was still open. I hadn't seen Joey since high school. There was water all over the floor of the shop, and he was talking about how lame it was, how everybody was so down about the storm. When he saw the truck nuts, he asked me why I painted them gold. I said I didn't paint them gold. And he said, well, they're welded on, they're pretty good anyway. But then he told me, he said they had these in stock at AutoZone, but they sold out after a big order right before the storm. And he gave me the address that he shipped it to. And I said, isn't this illegal? But then I had it. The drive was winding and unpaved, and the wet air smacked his lips at me as I pushed my Civic deeper into the forest. My windows were down. I was sweating like a milkshake. The address was in the middle of the woods. It was this house covered in kudzu. Well, the lights were off. And then I went in the house, and I heard something. And it's empty, but then I saw, I swear, myself, mouth covered in gold spray paint. Some kind of huffer. And then he was gone. I found a rifle in the house, and I took it, and I looked for him. I go outside, and I see a bull. His back is facing me. So about half an hour later, I'm coming down the highway, and there's some flashing lights behind me, and it's the cops. And I was getting pulled over for indecent hood ornaments and driving with a broken windshield. And he said, he said that my eyes looked bloodshot and the storm had put everybody through a lot, and so why don't I just come down to the station and have a cup of coffee and relax for a beat. The cop that took me in had the cigarette, and the ashes were stacked like a long tower or something. But it never fell until just when he wanted it to. And that's when we sat down, and he said, what seems to be the problem? And so I just told him straight up everything that had happened. And when I finished, he was silent for a while, and then he said, look, lady, there's some things in life you just gotta let be. And I said, well, has anything like this ever happened to you? And he said, well, no. And then he told me this story. He said there was a man who lived on a river. And on that river, about a mile north of his home, there's this broken bridge. And one day, while the man was fishing near the broken bridge, he saw this shadowy figure across the water. And the man was scared, but he didn't move. The shadowy figure remained there all day, watching him. And at the end of the day, the man got up and walked home like he always did. And he didn't mention this figure to his wife or his family. And he just continued living near the river, just farming and fishing and going on about his life, which was happy and peaceful. But then his mind would wander to that day on the river from time to time. Like he couldn't get it out of his head that someday it would return and surprise him and hurt him, or worse, his family. And so he decides to go face the figure. He tells his family he loves them, that he'll be back soon, and after this, there will be nothing more to worry about. And he just stopped there. He stopped telling the story. And I asked him what happened. And he said he never returned home. And I said, oh, well, I'll make it home.